So hi, on the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with...
And I'm Austin from Rex Tycoon.
And some questions to say about the upcoming album, No Limit to Love. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response to the announcement so far?
Thank you. I think it's been pretty good. We put out one single so far, and it was pretty well received. Pretty much met our expectations, I guess. You know, people have had some nice things to say about it. We did a video that people seem to like. It's our first record, you know, signing to a label for the first time, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So people were stoked on it, and we're, you know, happy people were stoked.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that everything's meeting expectations. The record is really cool. We got to listen to it ahead of this. I was digging it.
Sweet. Thank you so much. That's so nice.
Hell yeah. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
So the album title, I guess it didn't start out with too much meaning. We kind of just took what we thought was like the coolest sounding song title, or at least like for some reason, when I was looking at the track list, that just kind of sounded like it would make a cool album title.
That's fair.
And then the more we thought about it, the more I kind of attached meaning to it afterwards about how, you know, it's just sort of a nice sentiment in the crazy kind of fucked up world that we live in, that, you know, love is something to hold on to. There's no limitations to the possibilities of it, to the benefits you can, you know, reap from it. So yeah, I guess yes and no. I feel like we kind of stumbled into a meaning behind it. But it kind of just started off because I was like, damn, it sounds like that would be like a dope record.
Badass.
Yeah. and is that concept something that you discovered to be one of the themes of the record, or just, you know, a meaning to the title that is maybe separate from what the record's about?
I think that the more I was thinking about it afterwards, I think that it definitely applies to certain tracks on the record. So I think it like kind of ebbs and flows through it a little bit. I wouldn't say that necessarily every song kind of reflects that sentiment, but I think that, you know, for the most part, it sort of does. A lot of the tracks, maybe not every single one, but a lot of them kind of have something to do with that sentiment.
Gotcha.
And then the album cover was shot by our friend Dan Dunn, who's an awesome photographer in Pittsburgh. But we didn't totally know. The only thing we know we wanted to do with the album cover was that we wanted to do a band photo, because we had never done that, and we just thought it would be cool. And also specifically the artist that we were working with is this guy named Zach Hobbs, who does really cool kind of like fucked up collage. He works with like a lot of like punk bands. So we thought it would be cool to see him. And when we approached him about it, he like totally agreed. We thought it would be cool to see him do an album art that had like the band photo and was more of kind of like a classic vintage, like retro, almost like 60s album cover. Because I think he said, even when we approached him about it, he had never done a like band photo album art, but that he had really wanted to. So I guess there's not really any meaning behind the album art. We did kind of luck into it, I think, because one thing we were conflicted about is that we knew the record was coming out in the summer, and we thought it like sounded like more of a summer rock record. The day that we did the photo shoot was in like, just because we're like shitty at planning things, and I also live in Virginia now, while the rest of the band.
Hell yeah! Shout out Virginia.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's a bit more difficult to schedule things now, but we shot it on like a super snowy day in January. So originally we were kind of thinking it might make a cool contrast, like the album being like kind of wintry, the album art anyway, as opposed to, you know, it comes out August 1st and it's like kind of summery record sounding. But we ended up going with an inside photo that we took that had like really warm lighting, and it kind of you know, had that warmth to it, even though it was like, you know, 20 degrees and like snowy as hell outside in January.
Yeah,
gotcha. Hell yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about the writing process for the album?
So the writing process for the album, this is our first album. We've only ever done like EPs before this. We started the band in like 2020, and then it was kind of like sporadic throughout COVID, and we played our first show at the end of 2021. So from the get-go, we kind of had this mentality that like shorter releases were better, at least initially. We just felt like for like unknown bands who were just starting out, it was like a lot better to just put like 3 or 4 songs out, not like come out with a, I don't know, 40-minute album whenever, like, you know, you don't have an audience that anyone wants to listen to it. So I would say that the writing process for this record is kind of all over the place, just because it's sort of a collection of songs that we just had kind of piled up that we hadn't used on EPs. So like some of the songs, like there's one song that I wrote back in like 2019. We recorded the record in 2023 in like September. So some of the, I would say a decent chunk of the songs were written in like the year before that. But there were songs from like 2019. There's like a couple tracks that started in 2020. So a lot of them were just like songs that, for the most part, usually I would start writing in my house. I would lay down like a chord progression and come up with like, usually some of the lyrics. I don't usually come up with all of them like in the first demo. And then I would send it to the group chat. They would be kind of, give their thoughts on it. And then we would kind of run through it all together at practice. But so really it spanned like all the way from songs from 2019 up till, I think there were 2 songs that we wrote like 2 months before we went to record the record. So it's just sort of a collection of songs from like that 4-year period that we hadn't decided to put on an EP, like for one reason or another, or if they just hadn't been fleshed out yet totally,
Gotcha. So
Okay.
the writing process was kind of sporadic and spread across several years, but you mentioned you guys got to record the record all in one fell swoop.
Yeah, so we did. We recorded the record pretty quickly. We did it in, I think, 3 days.
God damn.
Damn. Whoa.
It was pretty much mostly 2 days. It was like 2.5 days. And then, so what happened was we did a tour in 2022 with this really cool band called Jackie Boy. They're from Indiana. It's got like Steve, who plays in like Angel Dust now, and he played in a band called Bug. That was kind of like a cult band for a little while. But it's his band, and so we did a tour with them. It was just like 3 or 4 shows. But we played Chicago with them, and we didn't know where we were going to crash that night. And so we asked them, like, hey, where should we crash that night? And Damien, who's playing bass in Jackie Boy, said, oh, like I work at the studio, which is in Bloomington, Indiana, which is like, I think like maybe 2 hours from Chicago. And they're from Bloomington, so they were just going to go home that night. It was the last night of the tour for them. But I think we were playing like Columbus the next day or something like that. But anyways, he said like the studio has bunk beds and stuff. Like you guys can come sleep at the studio. So we went to the studio with him to crash that night. And that was like the first time we had ever been in a studio. We had always just like self-recorded our music, like recorded it in our basement. And then our bass player, Keith, he's pretty good at like home recording stuff, to be honest. So we always just recorded our own shit. He would mix it, master it. We would just kind of put it out at our own leisure. But we stayed at the studio and we were like kind of just having fun, like hanging out in the studio for the night. And Damien, like he works there as a producer. So he kind of said like, hey, I think he liked us, like seeing us play for 3 nights. He was like, hey, if you guys ever want to like record here, like, you can come back. And so he kind of planted the idea in our head then. And I think maybe like 6 months after that, we kind of decided like, hey, maybe we should do a record. Like we could hit up Damien, go do it there. We just thought it would be fun to like do the real thing for once and like go to an actual studio. Like we pay the money, we keep like a band fund. And so we had like enough saved up in the band fund where we were like, we could go, like we could afford to go record. And so, yeah, we did it all in like 2.5 days. I think we were finished tracking. Cause I remember on the last day we had like half a day where we were like considering recording this like EP that we had worked on, but then we decided just to not try and record an EP in 6 hours, and we just let Damien like kind of start doing like rough mixes that he could send us home with. But yeah, we did. I think we just like live tracked everything on the first day, and then we just kept the drums from the live tracks, and then on the second day we just redid all the guitars, added the bass, did the vocals, which if you've heard the record, you like one funny story that I like to tell that Damien said in the studio was that like recording my vocals were the easiest vocals he's ever recorded, because he's like usually the only kind of notes I have for a vocalist are like, oh, like you're too sharp here, or like you're too flat. He's like, you're like not singing at all. So because I just do like a
that's like a crazy.
It's more like a kind of Lou Reed, almost like Jonathan Richman, like sing, speak, sing, shout kind of thing. So we were able to just like bang through the record in like 2.5 days, really.
So what was that headspace like while you were in the studio for the first time ever? You have 2.5 days, 3 days roughly to
Mhm.
record an entire record. Was it like, okay, guys, it's crunch time, we all gotta lock in? Or were you guys just kind of like, oh, this is so much fun, like this is a breeze, honestly.
It's definitely like a little bit of both. Like some of us, so me, the band is me, and then Jared is the drummer, Joey plays guitar, and Keith plays bass.
Hmm.
And Jared has been in like bands before. He's been playing in bands for like, the better part of like 10 years or whatever. But for me, Joey, and Keith, this is like pretty much the first band we've ever been in.
Yeah.
So I feel like we were definitely a little bit nervous going in, but also just nervous because it was our first time in the studio and the first time that we'd have to like, play these songs. Like we didn't want to like annoy the producer. Like when we record ourselves, you can do as many takes as you want.
Of course, yeah.
We also like wouldn't record ourselves live together. It would all be, put in piece by piece, and we'd send it all to Keith and he would put it all together. So it was a little bit nerve wracking in that sense, but we didn't do like any, I guess we added some parts to some songs, but everything was pretty much written, and we had been playing these songs for the most part.
Okay.
Like I think there's
Easy.
11 songs, and I think like probably 8 of them we've been playing live for like 2 years. So everything was pretty locked in that sense. So it was just a little nerve wracking going into the studio for the first time, working with like a producer. Just like there was a little bit of pressure with that, but like we like knew the songs like the back of our hands, so we ended up, it was pretty easy to like lay them down. But yeah, I guess
Okay.
it was a little, we were a little nervous for sure, some of us.
That's completely valid. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus. God. So what song off the album took the longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
So the one that probably took the well, like I said, there's a couple of them that I guess I don't know. Like you could say they took a long time to write because, like for instance, there's a single that's coming out on July 15th. It's the second and last single called "Bird on the Bricks," and that was the song where like I got the lyric idea in like 2020, and like I went home and laid down the guitar chords, but then we didn't present it to the band until like 2022, 2023. So it like sat around for like 3 years, but it wasn't like we were trying to write it for the entire 3 years. A lot of the songs, to be honest with you, mostly come together pretty quickly, just in terms of like me laying down a demo, or if Keith has a song on the record, lays down a demo, he sends it to the group chat. We're not the kind of band who like meticulously picks apart things. Everything comes like pretty naturally, and we don't really like, for better or worse, we don't really like second guess too much. So we don't really pick things apart. So, but I would say there is one song called "Bad News," and it's kind of like a country-ish song on the record. And it came together kind of quickly in the sense that like it originally wasn't even going to be on the album until Keith kind of brought up the point right before we went to record, like maybe 2 weeks before. He was like, the song, like he's like, I feel like the record needs like a twangy song. So I kind of dug that one out of like the demo archives in my phone. But like as far as me writing it by myself, it had gone through like 3 or 4 different iterations where it was the same chord progression, but like it started out first as kind of like more of like a soft rock kind of song, and it went through like these different, like it was still the same same chord progression and lyrics, but I kept trying it in like different styles until we kind of landed on sort of like a country-ish, has a little swing to it kind of song. So I guess that would technically be the one that like I worked on the longest, or that kind of changed the most over the 2 or 3 years that it like sat in my phone.
That's fair.
Gotcha.
And then your personal favorite?
Oh yeah, my personal favorite. I think my favorite song is probably "Jesus Drives," which we put out as the first single. I think it's just like one of the best songs that we've written, which is why we put it out as the first single pretty much. And even when we recorded the record, I remember Damien said, like he pretty much told us like these 2 songs, like "Jesus Drives" and "Bird on the Bricks," he's like, these are like the singles, like these are like the hits. Like he's like, you can do whatever you want, but like in my opinion, this is what the single should be.
Yeah.
And we pretty much agreed with him. But I think Jesus Drives is probably the best song we've done. And I kind of like that it's the closer of the album when we put it out as the first single. It's because I feel like that's like backwards to how people usually do things.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the way we ended up doing 2 singles, and both the singles are on side B. They're like track 8 and track 10, I think.
Yeah.
And that's like usually, bands will front load the singles on side A. So we thought it was kind of rebellious and cool to like
you put the hits on side B.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
We kind of figured just the way people listen to music now, because we're not like a super known band or anything. So we were like, it'll kind of force people to listen to the whole record.
Mm-hmm.
Like the singles are on side B, so like it'll be front loaded with like shit people have never heard.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It'll make them want to go to side B to get to the singles. Yeah.
That's kind of what we were thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener to the opener, close be a closer, shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
So kind of like I was saying earlier, we're not too meticulous about things. I feel like we kind of landed on the track list pretty quickly. Like I was actually just looking, I was trying to find an earlier draft of the track list, and I found like the first evidence I could find of someone proposing the idea for the track list, and it's pretty much what we ended up going on. I think that the opening track called Rock and Roll Star, that was one of the last songs we wrote before the record. Because like I said with the country song, we added it like 2 weeks before, but it had been like a song I had written a long time ago. Whereas like Rock and Roll Star, I think I wrote it like maybe a month or 2 before we recorded the record, and it was like a brand new like idea, like fresh idea. So I did kind of write it like with it being an opener in mind. I guess I didn't set out to write the opening track, but after I had written it, I was kind of like, oh, this is like the opening track.
Yeah.
And then same thing with Jesus Drives. I didn't write it with the idea that it would be the last track, but it just kind of seemed to fit as a good closer for the record.
Makes sense.
Just happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of happened and just kind of spoke to us like in that way once we listened to it back.
Yeah, damn straight. And would you be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating the record?
So it was kind of funny because we left like on a Friday to go record the album, and I remember I went over to like pick up some of the guys, and there was like there was some tension, nothing like crazy or like a big deal, but there was like some tension not related to the record at all. But I was like, okay, cool, we're about to drive like 6 hours to go spend the most money we've ever spent on anything as a band to record. And I'm like, two of our band members seem to hate each other right now for
it's a little tense.
For other reasons.
Just be happy, guys.
Yeah, so there was that going on. We also like very last minute jumped on a show the Friday nights where we recorded, because our plan was to drive to the studio on Friday. We'd get there like Friday night. We'd kind of like set up and chill. And then Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we would do the recording. And there's a band called Full Stride, who's a cool like hardcore kind of like youth crew punk band from Bloomington. And me and our drummer, we saw they were having a gig on Friday night, like 5 minutes from the studio. So we're like, oh, we'll just go to the gig. And then like, I don't remember what happened, but like the touring bands ended up dropping off of the show that we were going to go to.
Ooh.
So Chance from Full Stride ended up just asking us if we wanted to hop on the show, which was fun. I mean, it was cool because we got to like, it was like a practice right before the studio, and we got some money that we were able to put towards the recording. So it was, so the Friday was interesting because of, the tension and the issues, but that ended up being stupid and working itself out pretty quickly.
Good.
But playing the show was fun. So I feel like the headspace we were in was pretty good for the most part. We were all pretty stoked to be recording our first record. The studio we recorded at, like one of our favorite albums is, or at least like me and Jared, one of our favorite albums is this album called Bug. It's like their self-titled LP that came out on Pop League Records like 2017 or something like that. But like that album had been recorded there. We just had like a ton of respect for Damien as like a musician. Like he had played in, like we were just stoked to be like recording our record, at this studio. So I feel like the headspace was pretty positive for the most part once we got through the tiff on, the early part of Friday.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Well,
I'm glad it all worked out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? If you're doing in the car with friends and dark with headphones on, is a workout album, party album? What do you personally recommend?
That's a good question. I never thought about that. I feel like it's a pretty good car record. Listening with friends would be good. I feel like it's a good, like, smoking weed, chilling out on the porch in the summer kind of record. Probably not a workout record, but if you wanted to pump iron and listen to Rex Tycoon, you could.
Yeah, that's actually how I listened to it this morning. I was doing weights this morning and I listened to it. Yeah,
that's awesome. I feel like it's good, like smoking a joint by the pool. That would be like the ideal way to listen to the record.
For sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And this one should be super, super quick off the top of your head. I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
I'm going to say straight up rock.
Hell yeah.
That's what I always tell people when they ask, like, because subgenres are such a big thing. I feel like people always ask me, like, what kind of music is it? I just tell them it's rock music.
It's rock. It's rock and roll.
Rock music. Exactly. Yeah. Damn straight. Yup.
And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I don't know, man. I guess it's just a record that you should just chill and listen to,
Yeah.
I just feel like we're kind of like laid back. We usually get like the kind of slacker vibe attached to us. But yeah, I feel like it's just a record you should just like chill out, take a load off, listen to the lyrics. I'm not like I said earlier, I can't really like sing in a traditional sense. So like vocal melodies, Keith and Joey are pretty good. So there is some cool like background vocal melodies on the record. Some like backing vocal parts, but it's definitely a lyrics. We're like a lyrics heavy band just by the nature of the way that I sing and do vocals. It's more about lyrical content than vocal melody. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Fair.
Yeah.
And are you able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of the album, positive or negative?
Positive or negative. So there wasn't really too much negative. Like, it was a little tense leaving to go to the studio, but that, resolved itself pretty quickly, like I said. I'm trying to think standout moments. The recording process went pretty smoothly for the most part. I did almost I was really nervous because I almost blew out my voice on like the rehearsal day or like during the show, during the live track day. I think I was just so excited to like do live track because we did like when we live tracked the songs, we just played them. We tried to play them as naturally as possible. So like I did vocals, even though I knew that we weren't going to use those vocal takes at all. And I remember waking up the next day and being like, my voice wasn't like gone or anything, but I could tell it was like strained. And I was like, oh man, like if I like lose my voice during the vocal takes, I'm gonna like never forgive myself for this.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen. So we made it through that. But I do remember Jared got like sick. So luckily, like he recorded all his drums on day 1 and he didn't need to do anything else.
Okay.
Except he added like some percussion, like shaker stuff on like day 2. But he like got really sick off of something. I don't know what it was. So he was like laid up in bed. Like I remember there's like one little like gang vocal part on the chorus of Rock and Roll Star that like he just didn't even do because he was so sick. Like I felt bad for him. He was just kind of like laid up in bed in the entire second day we were in the studio.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it was pretty uneventful for the most part. We just kind of like we would, wake up 10 a.m., record till like, I don't know, 7 or 8. We played that show on Friday night. And then we would like go out and get food, but then we would just like come back and like, smoke weed and drink. Like, I remember they had just recently done some sort of event for the studios, like some anniversary celebration. So they had all these like in the little kitchen in the studio that the fridge was full of these like canned cocktails of some kind, some tequila thing that like me and Keith definitely drank way too much of.
You're celebrating.
Yeah, exactly. But we would just like get pizza and then come back and watch like a Jackie Chan movie or some shit. Like we like brought a Blu-ray player and like a bunch of Blu-rays because we're all movie nerds. So it was pretty positive for the most part. Although I do remember my car when we were leaving, like it was like every time there's something going on with the battery in my car, and so every time we tried to leave the studio, my battery would be dead, and we were like, oh, we're like 6 hours from home. So on the entire time home, we just like could not turn the car off at all out of fear.
That's crazy.
That, you know,
yeah,
we would be stranded in the middle of Ohio somewhere.
How fun!
Well, I'm glad the recording process was fun because it sounds like everything around it could have went wrong. Tension, car problems, sickness, voice problems, the whole thing.
The whole shebang.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was kind of a lot of shit going wrong, except for the gig was really sweet that we played. So that
good.
That was really positive.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, it was funny because it was like a hardcore gig, which I mean, if you listen to the record, you know we're not like a hardcore band at all. But
not even close.
We put ourselves in a place where we're kind of like adjacent to a lot of that stuff. So we do end up playing shows sometimes where it's like mostly a hardcore show. And so the show that we played was like a lot of like straight edge bands, like youth crew type stuff. And it was funny because like we were playing and it was like a DIY punk show where it's like all lights on. It's in like a art studio that, you know, Chance uses for shows or was using for like a few months. And then they were just like 19-year-old kids like two-stepping to our songs, and it was just kind of funny.
That's dope.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, what a sight to see. Relatively well. You never know because sometimes people dig it, and sometimes people like just don't get it or like why they're playing that show. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It depends.
Absolutely. So for this question, I want you to picture you're on tour. You're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
So the snack of choice that I usually go for, I'm like, if I'm getting an energy drink, which I usually am, I'm getting a Celsius. I'm like definitely on the Celsius hype train that a lot of people seem to be on. So getting a Celsius, probably the orange flavor, or there's one that's like tropical something.
Hell yeah.
So there's probably one of those. And then if I'm just getting a snack myself, I'm probably getting like this what are they called? The chili Doritos, like the purple bag Doritos.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm getting chips, I'm probably doing something like that. Joey usually gets like Cheez-Its. Keith will get like a bag of like pretzels or something like kind of classic in that way. And then Jared is kind of like a wild card where I never know what he'll get. But he'll probably just get like a water. Like I feel like I've like almost never seen that guy like drink a soda willingly in like his life or anything like that. So yeah, that's my answer on their behalf. But
solid. Thank you.
I'm getting Celsius and Doritos more than likely.
Mm-hmm. And on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
What dish would we be? That is a good question that I've never been asked before. I feel like if we were a dish, we would be maybe just like a classic kind of bacon cheeseburger. And I'm thinking just because we're like very simple, straightforward, like American rock and roll, you know, kind of like straight up, no bullshit. We're like, we don't use like any alternate tunings, you know, there's no like, all of us pretty much have like one pedal. Like I remember we opened for Angel Dust one time in Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Angel Dust. Yeah, we opened for Angel Dust. We actually did like a tape a few years ago on Popwig, which is the record label that Justice Tripp from Angel Dust and TUI runs. And so when they came to Pittsburgh, we played the gig, and that was the first time he had seen us. Although obviously he like, you know, knew us and was a fan because he put our shit out. Yeah. And I remember he was like, oh, since you guys are like a guitar band, like I figured there'd be like all these pedals on stage and shit. And he's like, but everyone's just got like one pedal. Everyone's just got like one overdrive, and that's it. So I feel like because we keep things simple, the songs are simple and easy, straightforward. I'm gonna go with maybe just like a classic American cheeseburger.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, that's dope. And for the last couple questions, going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Probably orange chicken with fried rice, because I just fucking love Chinese takeout. It's like classic. It's like hits every time. Even if it's like kind of bad, it's still good. Like no matter where you go to. And it's like, I guess this doesn't apply for death row because I'd be dead. But it's really good as leftovers. So that's why I usually consider it like one of my food. But in this situation, I would be dead, so I'm not going to be eating the
There would
leftovers.
be no leftovers.
I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, you got to.
And then for drink, I'm just going like Coke. I'm like a big, just classic Coke guy. I've been drinking a lot of Coke Zero because I'm trying to make the only calories I drink like beer, and I drink enough like alcohol related calories that I'm trying to cut back on. So I'm drinking a lot of Coke Zero, but if I'm going out, fuck it, I'm having the classic.
It's regular Coke, Coke 100.
Yeah, Coke 100.
Coke 100.
Hell yeah. And if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
I don't know if this would be my favorite, but it's something I just rewatched, and I watched the third one for the first time. But I've been like rewatching RoboCop lately, because there's like an Xbox game that I'm playing right now too. So I rewatched all the movies. So I'm gonna say probably just because it's like on my mind, because I've been watching nothing but RoboCop for the past few days, would be Old Detroit, which I don't know if you guys have seen RoboCop, but it would actually be a terrible place to live. It's like a near future, like apocalyptic, like crime is ridden everywhere, like everybody's poor. But I'm thinking that there would probably be a pretty sweet like hardcore scene in Old Detroit. Probably,
you know what? That's fair. That's yeah. All right.
Sweet gigs going down. I guess I'd only be there for a week, but it would be fun to be like to run like a criminal empire in Old Detroit as well. I'd probably get shot, but you know.
Oh, so you'd wait. Okay, so
I
thought you were gonna be like, yeah, I'd go to like as many shows as I could go to, but you're like, no, I want to be like a criminal empire, like the head of like.
Yeah, that's like completely opposite of my personality in real life. So
might as well, right?
Yeah, if I'm living in a fantasy world, yeah, like running drugs on the streets of Old Detroit and like doing like terrible, awful shit.
Yeah, hell yeah, go for it. You know what? Fuck yeah.
Thank you.
Fuck yeah.
I'm glad I got some support on that.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. Live it up, man. Whatever.
And I've not asked the last question. Every single person who's spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
I think like the past few years, my favorite color. I'm usually going for like a blue or a green. Usually like dark, kind of like deep, like navy blues, or like kind of like forest green, or even like kind of like olive green type of stuff. But I guess if I had to pick one, I'd just pick like navy blue. I feel like I'm a teacher, and I feel like 90% of the shit I wear to school is like just like a navy blue like polo or like sweater or shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Navy blue. It's like my safe choice when I'm buying like a shirt or something.
Yeah, good ass color.
Just get navy blue,
yeah. Yeah, hell yeah.
So as I said, that's all the questions I have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, so debut record's coming out. No Limit to Love comes out August 1st on Smart Punk Records. I don't know when this podcast comes out. Assuming, do you know when it's gonna come out?
The closer to the album.
Yeah.
Closer, yeah. Okay, so yeah, Bird on the Bricks, second single, will be out by the time you hear this. So go listen to it if the album is not out already. My favorite band in the world, called Beauty from New Jersey, is putting out their first record on August 1st as well on Strange View Records. So listen to that. Drummer plays in a band called Peace Talks. That's really good. Listen to that. United Stairs, another band he's in, that just put out a tape as well. So listen to those bands. Yeah, that's about it. Watch RoboCop. RoboCop is an amazing movie. Watch it. It's good.
Great plug. Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Sam. It's been Austin from Rex Tycoon, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.